Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio in partnership with E360 TV. We are so excited to welcome you. If you've never joined us before, thank you for taking this opportunity to get to know us. We have 41 different shows every week that we would love to have you subscribe to our channel over on YouTube. It's, guess what, USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I am the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network, where we celebrate global education, inspiration, and hope. Our show today is A Woman's Prerogative, and our topic is Breaking Barriers, the Rise of Women in STEM, Part 2. And you may say to yourself, what does this mean, Part 2? Well, every Monday, that's right, we have two shows, two episodes of A Woman's Prerogative. We have women from all over the world who are joining our panel and sharing their thoughts and their experience. Joining me today, as I'm here on the East Coast of the United States, is my dear friend. She's also one of my coaches. She helped me get myself together so I could leave corporate and start my own businesses, and which is where we are today. And she's in New Zealand, and her name is MARISKA, and she's a leadership and transformation coach. Welcome.
Hello, and wonderful to be back on this wonderful platform. And yes, global we are indeed.
It amazes me. I just had someone reach out to me from Ghana. She had seen one of our shows. She's a nurse, and she is very much involved in being an advocate for cervical cancer survivors. So she's bringing her story, her experience to the platform, which I think is just fantastic. So, MARISKA, for people who haven't met you before, they're wondering what it is you do in terms of your coaching. And I'd love for you to share a little bit. And also, you are one of the women who is in STEM. So tell us more.
Well, let's start at the coaching piece first, maybe. So the area where I practice is with leaders, those moving from a specialization into leadership, as well as moving up within the leadership journey. And a little bit about the STEM, how I got there is I used to operate within the engineering field. So my background is as a mechanical engineer. That is initially what I studied. So that's the relationship to STEM. And of course, that is a field that I'm very, very passionate about. And I love working with people within that space. So if you are a leader within that space, that is those type of areas that I help people bring a little bit more of their humanness into their leadership, because normally within the STEM field, we can sometimes forget about the humans just a little bit and get so involved in all the other fun stuff that is STEM that, it's a little bit tricky to sometimes relate more to the human pieces. So that's what I help people with in general in the coaching that I do and the training that I help them go through. So that is what I'm all about, and I'm really looking forward to this topic today, Dr. JACALYN. I know that some of our other panelists on the other show may or may not have in-depth knowledge around STEM. And well, I wasn't at that one, so I would love to hear some insights from you as well.
Yes, absolutely. So our earlier show today, which was at noon Eastern time, 5 p.m. British Summer Time. What time is that in New Zealand? Noon Eastern time.
Very early. I think it's 3 or 4 a.m. at the moment for us. So I was sound asleep.
Well, that's a good place to be. Good for you. So on the earlier show, we didn't have anyone who was specifically in STEM or had that kind of background. But what we really talked about was breaking barriers. And as women, how we break barriers all the time. Many times it's based on the fact that we got negative feedback from somebody, or somebody threw a rock at us or threw a boulder at us, tried to keep us down. And we said, get out of my way because I'm coming through. So one of those individuals, we actually have a video of. She is a very young, talented singer, and she is now one of our sponsors here at USA Global TV and Radio. And she's breaking barriers by putting herself out there. She's actually quite shy, I understand. And for her to sing and dance is really something quite special. So her name is Ella Holly, and she is in the UK. Let's take a look at her music video, and then we'll have a chat about how she's breaking barriers. The name of her song is Things That We Do with artist Ella Holly. Let's take a look.
If I look into your heart, are you looking back at me? Am I everything you want, baby? If my heart was in your hands, would it be for you and me? Would you wanna keep it close, baby? Right on time, find the right guy, the one I dream to be. Give it all that you can, stumble and fall. Love will set me free. Baby, 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 don't you know you drive me crazy? I love the things that we do. Baby, 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 if you say that I'm your lady, 'cause I can't stop thinking of you. If you told me to my face, you would lie right through your teeth. Would anybody know this is meant for me? I'm not the one to cry or throw my heart away. Can you show me all your loving? 'Cause I'm tired of these games. Run or die, I find the right guy, the one I dream to be. Give it all that you can, stumble and fall. Love will set me free. Baby, 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 don't you know you drive me crazy? I love the things that we do. Baby, 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 if you say that I'm your lady, 'cause I can't stop thinking of you. We'll play the game, make it up, fake it up. It's what we do. We play the game, shake it up, wake it up. I'm thinking of you. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright. Reach for the stars. Baby, 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 don't you know you drive me crazy? I love the things that we do. Baby, 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 if you say that I'm your lady, 'cause I can't stop thinking of you. Baby, baby, baby. Baby, baby, baby.
Wow, what did you think of that?
That was so much fun. I would not say that she's shy at all.
It's interesting. There are a lot of celebrities. I'm thinking one, Barbara Streisand. So, Barbara, I'm hoping I'm getting this right, but that she has always been very shy. And when she has to get on stage and perform, it's like another persona. So, it is interesting how we can be one way. I would say I'm very introverted, and yet here I am. Here 40 shows a week, 30 shows a week, but I really like to be by myself. So it's kind of interesting, right? How about you?
I have a tendency to be the same. I do enjoy interacting with people in very small, intimate settings, preferably one or two at a time. I can handle bigger groups. Typically, if I do have bigger groups, what I find for myself is I need to block some time before and after interactions with the bigger groups because I need to replenish my own energy. So definitely more introverted as well. And yet, as you said, Dr. Jacalyn, we are here on USA Global TV. And I know that there's a lot of you out there watching us. And at the same time, I am very, very grateful that I'm not seeing all the eyeballs all at the same time. So there's a lot of energy for you guys. Love yous. And hope you are enjoying the show that we can still do even when we're introverted. So that works.
Absolutely. Definitely works. So when you think about breaking barriers, what do those words mean to you? And then if you could give an example of somehow you breaking a barrier into STEM, because I don't have experience in that way. I mean, I am into technology. Obviously, I didn't know anything about technology, but I don't know if that really counts. So you're official. So let's go with you.
Official. Well, as official as I can possibly be. I think for me, so I'm going to start with the examples first, and I'm saying examples, multiple. So first off, while I was studying, to give you a bit of an idea, is we started off, my first year, we were a total of 5. There's 5 ladies in a class, otherwise made out of mostly male students. So that's how we started. By the end, when I finished, I think there were there were a total of 3 of us that completed. By the time that I completed, 2 of the other ladies, one went off and did a different course altogether, and another one had to go, I think, back to her country that she came of origin. So she was Flemish, came to South Africa for a little stint, and she went back there. So I don't know whether she completed her course or not within the engineering field. And that was my experience with ladies in engineering in general. At that stage, there was a few, but not a lot. So going into the working environment, I was now used to the fact that in general, I will most probably be fairly on my own. Went into the workforce and, of course, didn't find a lot of ladies within the engineering field itself. So there was a lot of people within the procurement space, helping with finances, that sort of thing. Yes, loads of ladies in those spaces. Within the engineering space itself, not a lot. So much so that, to give you guys an idea, the plant that I worked on, our restroom facilities were mainly male. And if I wanted to go to a restroom, I had to go to one of our administrative buildings because there was just no other restrooms available for ladies at that point in time. We weren't enough. And, well, if you wanted to go and relieve yourself, you had to run a little bit of a distance to do so. It did change over time as more of us came in, and as I made some notes to the guys that it is a little bit uncomfortable and doors get locked during overtime and stuff like that, we did improve the situation. And that was part of, I think, the barrier piece as well, Dr. Jacalyn, that you spoke about, is really venturing into these areas where maybe some of the things were predominantly just not done for whatever reason, either the person or specific sexual orientation was not in that space, whatever the case might be, and we needed to alter it and change it a little bit in order for us to be able to work within that space. So it was very interesting. I found it extremely interesting being very early in my career, as well as being one of the early adopters within the field, going into that space and seeing how it is that we can change the environment in which we work. So had that back in South Africa, there was a lot of things that changed during the time that I've been within the engineering space at that organization. And then we moved to New Zealand. And it was so funny because the organization where I worked very first time coming to New Zealand had exactly the same problems as when I initially stepped into the organization a couple of years before finishing my studies. So had to break a few barriers there again. And I think for me, when I think about breaking barriers, it is really about helping to educate, because we set up barriers and boundaries for a reason, right? Even when we think about our own personal barriers and boundaries, we set these ones up so it can keep us safe, for us to function properly, whatever the case might be. And if things change, or when things change, rather, not an if, it's definitely going to change. When things change, we need to readjust it and rethink about some of the things that we have set up, because literally it's us that set them up. So helping to educate people around what is going on for us helps them to see what it is that maybe we need to alter or adjust in order for all of us to be able to work in a more cohesive way. So really, for me, barriers are about communication. So communicating with ourselves, understanding what it is that's going on in our environment, and then helping others to understand that too. And I don't need to do that by yelling at the top of my lungs. I need to do that by helping other people see what it is that I'm going through in a compassionate way. And that's what we did within that space way back when I started off with my studies. And yeah, that's the way that I still think about it today. So for all those ladies within STEM, I know that we have a variety of different experiences. And it is always fascinating to me to hear what it is that come up from their experiences and how they seeing that environment. And sometimes there's acceptance and it's easy to get those barriers broken. And other times people want to cling to the old way of doing things. Now, that doesn't matter whether you are a lady moving into a STEM field where most probably there's never been any females before, or whether it is something that we want to do different than it used to be done. People do have a tendency to want to cling to that thing that they are most comfortable with, and they don't necessarily like the thing that is going to change, because it means that we ourselves need to also then change and get used to the new thing, which may or may not be uncomfortable. And typically we think that it may not be uncomfortable, hence the kicking against the whole idea. But Dr. Jacalyn, that's enough of me. What have you found within your space, STEM or otherwise, barriers-wise? What's coming up for you when you're breaking barriers?
Thank you, Mariska, and thanks for sharing your journey and what you had to go through. And thank you for persevering and just breaking down those barriers and those walls. I think for me, I was in corporate up until 2020, and I was in a completely different space. I had been in technology for probably 15 years prior to what I was doing last, which was providing employee recognition solutions and behavior changing platforms like sales incentives, meetings and events, employee recognition, etc. So I decided to go out on my own, as you know, to become a certified coach. And that's where I met you in class. And then at the same time, I was doing a radio show. And so now here we are. But I had so many people throwing rocks at me, usually men, by the way, saying, I don't know what you think you're doing because you're never going to get anywhere. And then I even had a woman say to me, someone I knew fairly well, she said, what do you think? You're going to be a celebrity? You think you're going to be a movie star? And I said, no, I don't think any of those things. What I think is I'm giving people a safe space to share their story. That's my role. I don't have a title. I don't consider myself to be anything extraordinary. I'm just putting together something that I hope will be a legacy where people can feel more safe sharing their story because they know that people are listening at an elevated level. And you're an elevated listener. You know how important that is. So I'm wondering for you, what role do you think fear plays in when these boundaries are actually set up? Because people are afraid. They're afraid of what they don't know. They're afraid of losing someone who's going to go off and do something they don't understand, or maybe they're not going to have as much time for them. So how would you describe fear in terms of being part of a barrier?
Ooh, I think fear is definitely one of the big things that play in for most barriers, if not all of them. And the fear typically, we have multiple layers of fear that we are fighting. We are fighting the fear that is within us. So our own insecurities, our own doubts and things that's going on for us, and fear of maybe failing. It might even be fear of succeeding. Some people are afraid of it going really well, because with that comes change again. Right? So there's a lot of inner fears that we need to work through. And then other people have a tendency to project fears onto us. So Dr. JACALYN, as per your point, for the people that were naysayers in reckoning that, well, either you don't know what you're doing or is this even going to work? It's not necessarily a you thing. It was more of a them thing. When we look at somebody else doing something, it's really around our own view of whether we can do that or not, and what our perception is of it. I remember very vividly having a conversation with somebody before we immigrated to New Zealand, and I still value the comment that she had, because what she said was, you know what, I look up to you for taking this step. I will never be able to do that. And I thought, it's interesting that, to me, at that point in time, yes, it felt like a big step, and it almost felt like the natural thing to be doing. And this person could not see themselves doing it. She said she would love to do it. She would love to go to other countries and experience other things. And yet she knew she would never be able to do that. So for herself, there was a fear inside that kept her in the space that she was. So the barriers, to me, I think, is very much also a fear thing if we want to keep them in place. If we hold on to them so much, there is some form of fear attached to it, because otherwise we will see that when we let them go, it's going to be fine. and we are human, and we can work it out, and we can find solutions to any problem. So it will be okay to let go of it. And the fear is sort of keeping our hands tied to it. It reminds me of electrical shocks. So if you have an electrical wire, and you take your hand, so if this is the wire, and you take your hand, you put it over the wire like that, and there's some leakage and it shocks you, you will actually hold on to it tighter because your muscles contract. So when you have an electrical wire and you don't know whether that wire is live or not, putting your hand against it to the back, if you then contract, it actually closes towards you and you pull your hand away. And that's a little bit the way that I think about a barrier, is the way that I approach it. If I approach it in the right way, I will not get myself hurt more. But if I'm going to approach it in the wrong way, so with fear, right, I will then actually hold on to it tighter. And looking at barriers in that way helps me to then decide what and how I want to approach it, and then hopefully have a good outcome in the process. So fear definitely plays a huge, huge role, not only for us, our internal fears, but also everybody else's fears that comes up. And Dr. JACALYN, as I'm talking, I'm wondering, going through all the changes and breaking all the barriers, because you have broken some significant ones with this platform and other things that you've been doing. What do you find helps you to either work through the fear or, I don't know, ignore it? What's helpful for you within that space?
Thanks for asking that. By the way, I have to say that something happened with one of my lights, and we have like a disco thing going on now, so I have a different color. So I have to fix it on a break. Anyway, yeah, so that's a great question. Kind of what I've been doing, and it's as a result, I guess, of the last 2 or 3 years, is I really take emotion and I put it aside. So when people are throwing rocks at me, or people are giving me solutions that I didn't ask for, or they're giving their 2 cents that I didn't ask for, I just take a deep breath and think, they're not an elevated listener. They're someone who's at a different level, because you and I, we work on elevated listening. We work very hard. So I think that's really important to help continue forward without having the fear factor, because as soon as we start getting emotional, then that's when the fear starts getting worse and worse. If you think about it, if you are having a conversation with someone and they start attacking you about something, and then instead of you just being sort of like a brick wall where everything just bounces off of you, you start attacking them. They're calling you names. Now you're calling them names, and it gets escalated up and up and up. So for me, when there are barriers or challenges, or people who are saying you can't do this or you can't do that, I just think to myself, there's some kind of fear factor for them that if I do it, that they feel insecure, or they don't feel like they're enough, or they don't feel like they've done enough. And that's on them.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
So when we think about breaking barriers, and we can think about it in different ways as well, but I want to stay on STEM for just a moment. We actually didn't even identify or give a description. What is STEM? I'm going to go over to you, the expert.
Oh, okay. So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So anything where you have lots of numbers that you're working with will most probably be within the STEM field. And yes, the piece that I've slotted into is the E for engineering. Love that field. Also has loads and loads of numbers. Whether I will only do the mathematic part, maybe. There's some pieces of math that I'm not as fond of as others. What can I say? I have favorites. I'm sure everybody does. That is why we are in the different occupations that we practice, because we have our preferences. So yes, that is STEM: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Mm-hmm. for those that didn't know.
So would you say the work that I'm doing in technology would fit in, so I would be a woman in STEM?
I would say for the amount of learning that you've been doing within the technology space, so understanding how the different platforms work and how to set things up, yep, definitely. Yeah. You don't necessarily have the mathematical workings of how the stuff is written in the background, but application, yes, definitely there.
All right,
And
yay.
even setting up lighting.
I'm on the team with you. I love it. Mariska, this is not specifically on topic, but yet it is, because in terms of what you've done, you've also broken a barrier to become an Amazon #1 best-selling author. So that's something that you really didn't know anything about, and it's now something that you can celebrate. So tell our audience a little bit more about that.
Oh, well, first of all, there needs to be a book written, right? So that was, I think, for me, one of the things that needed to happen first. And I was very fortunate to be able to co-author with you, Dr. JACALYN, on several books. And it took a few to actually get to the best author status. So it needed some learning throughout the process, understanding how it works. And of course, there is loads of things within the author realm that's very specific in order for us to get to bestseller, best new release, and all the other fun bells and whistles that comes with being an author. So definitely, yes, there's, I think one of the things that I really appreciate, regardless of the place where I operate, is the learning that I get from it. So for me, I need to understand the way my brain works is understanding the building blocks first. And typically, for most people, they don't explain building blocks, they explain the whole thing, because that's the way that they understand it and that's the way that they made sense of it. So I need to understand the whole thing in 3 dimensions, as well as the inside of it. And then I can actually take it apart into its little building blocks and start to work with it then in the way that I work with it. So that is, to me, even within the author space, I think that was something that I really appreciated. And having somebody that's gone through it before, so having a coach or a mentor or a co-author that you are able to bounce things off of and learn from, I personally truly appreciate. Because Dr. JACALYN, if it wasn't for you, not too sure whether I would be at bestseller status at all yet. So yes, that was very, very helpful for me. And I know that you actually got to it, well, a lot sooner. So how was your journey? What did you learn?
Well, my journey, I have to dedicate to Red O'Loughlin, because he is the one who taught me what I needed to know to do the marketing. In addition to the writing, he's got a certain formula that he uses. And my first best-selling book was Behind the Green Screen. And that was, I believe, June 4th of 2021. So again, working with a coach, we can't possibly know everything about everything. So I always believe in going to somebody who's already done what it is that you want to do and seeing what they did. And also, if you're working with a coach who doesn't want to share how they did what they did, you might want to consider getting another coach, because there are some people who keep everything very close to the vest and they don't want anybody else to achieve what they've achieved. And of course, here on this platform, we want everyone to be successful in whatever regard that is. We really lift each other up in that way. So what I learned, and I'm still have more to learn, is that writing a book is one thing, publishing it is another thing, marketing it is a completely different thing, and getting reviews is a completely different animal that I still have not managed to rope in as of yet. So it is interesting. I have 5 more books coming out before the end of the year. and one of them is with you, and that is our I'm actually going to go over to Amazon in a minute and just show the books that are coming out. But it's interesting because you and I have worked together with Dr. Madalene Chan on the Lady Ella book series, and we had never worked together before, and in terms of writing a book and writing a song. And it was really kind of fun because we all brought something different to the table, and nobody was saying, oh, I want full credit for that. We all shared in the credit. And I think that's what was so nice about it. There was no ego involved. What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I really enjoyed the collaboration that we had. We even got a fun song from it. So that to me is a creation process that cannot be surpassed. If we create, or when we create by ourselves, we may or may not use other people's work in the sense of how we get our inspiration or what we might be reading through. And when we are creating with others, the fun thing about that is we never know what's going to come out of it. Regardless of whether we have a specific idea in our head, because we have other people contributing to it, it will evolve and change into something else. And no one person within that space will exactly know how it's going to look like if it is a real collaboration. So to me, it is so much fun to see how it changes and evolves and what comes into it, and building. Dr. Jacalyn, I don't know whether you remember when we did the song and how we were building on each other's ideas, and it just became a epic, fun little song.
It surely did. And you know what? We're actually going to play this song. So this is the joint collaboration that we have, Mariska, myself, Dr. Madalene Chan, and Lala Music. And this song, Listening Lazies, is actually part of our second book, which I think I might have a copy here to show people. But let's take a look at Listening Lazies. Feel free to sing along.
When we speak, we don't hear. It's abundantly clear. Listening lazy creeping, and nobody's gonna win. Look someone in the eye. If you don't, they surely will cry. You don't hear a word I say, 'cause you always look straight away. Listening lazy, drive people crazy. Listening lazy, making us blue. Listening lazy, communication goes hazy. Listening lazy, listening lazy. Da 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 da. Listening lazy, drive people crazy. Listening lazy, making us blue. Listening lazy, communication goes hazy. Listening lazy, listening lazy. When you interrupt your friend, you will surely have to make amends. Lady Ella knows the way to help you listen better every day. And what's that? It's listening lazy. Ba-da-ba-ba. Listening lazy, drive people crazy. Listening lazy, making us blue. Listening lazy, communication goes hazy. Listening lazy, listening lazy. Listening lazy, drive people crazy. Listening lazy, making us blue. Listening lazy, communication goes hazy. Listening lazy, listening lazy, listening lazy.
Now, to me, that's an example of breaking a barrier, because we had never written a song at all, and we'd never written a song together. So I do have the books here, so I'm just going to spotlight myself for a moment so people know what we're talking about, because this is breaking barriers too. People from different countries writing content. So this is our book series, The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. And all of the animal characters on the book represent real people who took our course, The Power of Listening. And on the back is actually Lady Ella. And Lady Ella is me, the listening mentor. And Lady Ella also is a real person. She is my great niece. And the book series are dedicated, the book series is dedicated to her. So what's kind of cool is in the second book, which is Lady Ella's ABCs of Listening, we actually have this sheet music in here that you can purchase. And it's funny, I went to a dinner party and I took the books out, and this one woman saw the fact that there was sheet music, and she plays the piano, and she said, you know what, I'm buying the books from you right now. So here's Listening Lazies. So we had a new kind of take in a children's book, putting a song that you can actually play on the piano. So we've got 4 books out right now. Here they all are. Woo! 4 different books. And the 5th one is coming out on the 21st. So you can go over to Amazon and you can put in Lady Ella Listening Series. You can put in my name. You can put in Mariska's name, and you'll see the books. And I know that you're going to love them. We've had really great feedback on them. So, yeah. So thanks for taking that journey. It's been fun. I do want to go over to Amazon and just pull up the place for people to see. People like to see things, right? It's easier when you can see things.
It is. Then we know that we're in the right spot.
Exactly.
It's very, very helpful.
Let me share my screen. Okay, so in this case, I put in my own name, Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I have another book coming out, which we'll talk about some other time. Today, we're just talking about breaking barriers. So here we have The Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. That's the first book. Then we have, let's see, the second book here, and the third book here, the fourth book here, and then this is the 5th book that is coming out. And this book has been an Amazon #1 new release. I stopped counting. It's at least 9 times so far that it's been a #1 new release. And it's not even out yet. So that's what's so much fun. So again, all of these animal characters represent real people who took the power of listening. And Lady Ella travels to different parts of the world, meeting with animals and teaching them how to listen. And that's what we're doing to break barriers, learning how to listen as a family, learning how to listen as a couple, learning how to listen as a society. So we've been able to not only give lessons for listening, but also there's a lesson about humanity or saving the planet or something else that's also really important. So we'd love if you would support us and go over to Amazon and pre-order our books, order our books. This one's pre-order, the rest are available right now. So Mariska, we're coming to the end of the show, and I think what would be really nice is to just wrap up a little bit about the work that you're doing in STEM and where you see this industry going.
Ooh, wow. So the work that I'm doing in STEM is to help those that is within that specialization piece of STEM go into leadership. And I think STEM for me is really about innovation. If we don't have people within that space, we will literally not be able to do fun new things anymore, which would just be very, very sad and boring. As well as understanding that the more diverse we have, or more diversity we have within that space, the more we can create and change. To our earlier topic around being able to collaborate, we literally collaborated over oceans, right? So me, Dr. JACALYN, and Dr. Chan, not one of us are in the same country even. We are across the world, literally. So we have different perspectives, different things that we bring into that space. And I think that is what's really required for STEM as well. In order for us to continue to innovate, to continue to grow, we do need to have that diversity and different points of view, because that brings richness. And is riches not part of what gives life its special flavors and qualities? So that is really the thing that I think is needed within that space. And most probably all the spaces that we operate within. So that would be my biggest additional thing within the STEM field, I think. And of course, if you are already in the STEM field and you're looking at helping other people grow their own abilities or helping your team to reach that next level, and you within a leadership space, do reach out so that we can also discover how to up those human elements that sometimes within the STEM space might be tweaked in order for us to get the best out of our team in a collaborative and diverse way. And yeah, not only having right and wrong answers, because I do know that mathematics can show us all the things that we need to know, and human beings are very, very fickle and have loads of other points of view. So always good to understand how to deal with that as well.
Thank you so much, Mariska. I really appreciate that. We do have another one of our sponsors that we're going to hear from before we come back to close out the show. Her name is Zane Carson Carruth, and not only is she an international author who's won all kinds of awards, she's also a certified etiquette and protocol expert, and she writes columns on etiquette as well. Let's take a look at her sponsorship, and then we'll be back.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating warm memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Abella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Abella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Abella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com. and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
All right, we're back. Mariska, it's time to close out this show. I want to spotlight you and tell people a little bit about the work that you're doing and the value that they can bring to them. And we really encourage people to reach out. That's why we're here. There's a lot of other things we could be doing. We're providing education, hope, and inspiration. And we want you to contact us so that we can help you. Mariska, what say you?
Oh, well, as I mentioned, if you are within the specialization space and moving into leadership, so you don't need to have already made the transition. It might be I'm thinking about making the move sort of conversation that you're having with yourself. You are more than welcome to reach out and we can explore that together and see what comes up for you. Of course, also, if you are within the leadership space already and moving up, so transitioning from one sort of environment within your leadership into the next one, also do get in contact because there's a lot of nuances within the leadership space when we are dealing with people that are at the front lines versus leading leaders. So it does change when we move into different leadership spaces, and there are a whole host of different things that we need to take into consideration and work that we need to do on ourselves in order to get the best out of our teams. Leadership starts at home first. So if there's any of those things that you are transitioning into or thinking of transitioning into, do reach out. You can get hold of me via my email address, which is mariska@journey2discover.com. Or alternatively, you can reach out to me via my LinkedIn and send me a direct message, and we can start the conversation to find out how to make you the leader everybody would love to be with. And that is me.
Thank you so much, Mariska. I appreciate that. I want to just share my screen one more time, especially for all of the people who are joining us, whether you're on E360 TV or you're watching us over on Amazon Fire or Apple TV or Roku or any Android device. We invite you to be a guest on our platform. And all you have to do is go to usaglobaltv.com. You can also go to usaglobaltvandradio.com and go over to book your session. And here we have lots of content. We've got our latest numbers. We've got testimonials. We've got some coaching and courses. We're all about helping you be the best version of you. So you can scroll down to this section, and then you can look for a show that you're interested in being on. So for example, let's say you want to be on Hot Topic. You'll look for a circle. That means that that time slot is available. You'll go ahead and click on that. And then notice here the timing, it's all Eastern time. So for our friends who are on the other side of the world, make sure that you're not booking in on a show that's in the afternoon, our time, because you'll be getting up in the middle of the night. We don't want to make you do that. So just go through and then find your booking, put in your information. It's super important that you answer these 3 questions about the topics you want to discuss, how you found us so we can thank someone who sent you, and then sending us your email, emailing us your bio, your social media links, and any other information that we need to info@usaglobaltv.com, going ahead and clicking on this confirm booking, which we can't do because we're not actually booking anything. So we'd love to have you with us. And that's the way that you do it. Super simple. You will get a reminder, and then you'll be able to share your story with us. So doesn't that sound exciting?
It definitely does. And of course, we love having people on A Woman's Prerogative. So please, please do join us. It is always fun to have different perspectives and new voices so we can explore a little bit more as to what's going on in your world as well.
Absolutely. So we're going to be signing off for now. So in case you missed the beginning of the show, or maybe you missed the earlier episode today, just go over to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV and Radio, and subscribe. And you can see, as I mentioned, we've got 41 different shows for people to choose from. And they're all organized in playlists to make it very easy to find. Mariska, you have a show coming up, your Talking Heads show. Tell us a little bit about that. What will you be discussing? And then when do you actually do your show?
Ooh, so my show, Dr. Jacalyn, I think it is Eastern time on a Thursday at 7 p.m. if
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Eastern time.
6 Eastern time. For me, here in New Zealand, it is 11 a.m. on a Friday. Of course, if that is too late, early, or, well, not during a lunch break for you, then it is also recorded. So as Dr. Jacalyn said, you can find it on our platform, or alternatively, you can go to YouTube as well and go and look for the show there. And for our Talking Heads coming up this week, well, we are exploring a few more tools, tips, and tricks that new managers need within their toolkit to help them navigate some of those not so easy conversations. So if you have a tricky conversation coming up and you want to think about what it is that you need to maybe bring with you so that the conversation is a little bit less tricky, do come and join us for the show.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, everyone on USA Global TV and Radio. Thank you to all of our friends at E360 TV and all of their platforms. We're signing off for now. We'll be back tomorrow with more shows. Until then, bye.
Bye.